Jaeyun was universally considered the best character in Brawlhalla. Until last week's update, where Sword got nerfed the most, and Greatsword followed pretty closely after. So the question then becomes, who is the new best character in Brawlhalla? The obvious pick is Teros, but I've also got 3 dark horse options that might take this crown over the next few months. But first, why Teros? Well, like I mentioned earlier, Sword and Greatsword both got nerfed, but what I didn't say is Sword, Greatsword, Chakram, Gauntlets, Guitars, and Lance all got nerfed, while Axe remained unchanged, and Hammer got a large buff. Not the biggest buff in the patch, but we'll get to that later. Teros was already a very strong pick, but pair one of his biggest counters in Jaeyun getting brought down, and the nerfs to everything else, and suddenly he's slated for a top 3 selection in the game. And that's not even considering the hammer buffs. But let's go over these buffs now, shall we? Because these are surprising, to say the very least. 4 of the hammer's moves now deal more damage. Now, I'll get into the specifics now soon enough, but a damage buff on a character like Teros is pretty crazy, because already he's someone that might not hit you a lot, he might struggle to hit you, like I'm doing right now, but when he does, it hits hard. He is a character that can KO you in like 5 hits. So when Hammer Neutralite gets buffed to deal more damage, Hammer Sidelight gets buffed to deal more damage, Hammer Nair gets buffed to deal more damage, and even Hammer Side Air gets buffed to deal more damage. You've now got a character that is doing as much as a fully charged signature with a bread and butter combo. If you take a look at these numbers, they're only getting increased by what? 1, increased by 2, but that really adds up, especially when you're playing someone higher strength like Teros, because suddenly those +1, +2s become a +3, a +4, and then these downlight sayers become so much more deadly. Look what happens when I hit this Bodvar with a very simple set of reads. That is possibly the most basic hammer string out there, and Bodvar was in the orange. I hit this along with 1 extra downlight sayer, and he's gonna be in kill percent. I mean, that is just ridiculous. Look at that. And I'm not even pushing this to the extreme right now. This is base Teros against base 5 defense, the standard. We start getting into the territory of low defense and 9 strain Teros. I mean, this just becomes an absolute nightmare. It's no wonder why people are considering him the potential best character in the entire game. There is actually even more to this story. Brawlhalla is not a vacuum. We do not have simply one character. I mentioned very briefly earlier the idea, there's my food in the oven. Let's take a look at their health as I'm landing these hammer hits early in this stock here, because it is going to very quickly change color. I'm no hammer expert, but already their health bar is starting to shift. I don't think it's my fault I got hit by that Sig there. How was I supposed to remember this is Vivi? How was I supposed to remember Vivi hits on the ground there? That's not my fault. Okay, what if I go for a spike ball hit? Big spike ball hit. Vivi's the best in the game. I was talking about matchups, okay? Maybe there's something that you're unfamiliar fighting. Maybe something really fast, like Chakram, for example. Well, if weapons like that get nerfed, their frequency of play is going to drop off, and that just means that you are more effective into more players than you were previously. I think I'm using more signatures on Teros right now than ever before. It's crazy because they were unchanged, which is not the case for some of these later pick legends that I am going to talk about in this video. Regardless, the damage is crazy. And even beyond anything like an unfamiliar matchup, an uncomfortable matchup, if you're able to dish out more damage than your opponent in a less number of hits, then your job is easier. That's very much oversimplifying things, but just look at that. I don't know if I earned that KO, but I got it. Another point is that as metas shift around, as certain weapons become more or less powerful, there may be certain characters that people want to pick, and maybe those characters are lower defense. Maybe there's someone like Hattori, for example. Well, that's fantastic, because it means everything is gonna just go that much further. I gotta save him. Okay. This is why you gotta put on your own oxygen mask before helping others. Who's gonna save me? So you get the picture. Teros was one of the best characters in the game. And then he got buffed. Like, really buffed. As in, 4 of his core moves now deal more damage. That should have worked. On top of that, almost everyone else got nerfed, including one of his biggest counters. So now he's running uncontested, or at least mostly uncontested, which we will get to very, very shortly, because there is potential for new counters to pop up. In fact, not just potential, but it's very, very likely, because of some buffs that the character we're playing against right now has greatly benefited from. As the meta shifts, so do matchups. So that is something that will ever evolve. I am wall slipping right now. I am so dead, unless I can get a hit in. So, Teros is perfectly positioned in 2025 to be the leading charge of the meta. I'm going to save this spike ball, even if it kills me. It's not a repeat of last game. I was so focused on saving the gadget, I forgot to save the player. But that's okay, because now we can talk about the things that I've been saving for the rest of this commentary. Namely, blasters. This weapon got an insane buff this patch. One of the biggest buffs in years. And I'm not talking about one of the biggest blasters buffs in years. I'm talking one of the biggest buffs in general. Even saying the phrase blasters got buffed is a little bit of a disservice to what actually happened. In short, Blaster's Sidelight, you know, the very fast move with a ton of range, this got reworked from a setup tool into a full combo starter. That's right, Sidelight now has guaranteed combos into side air. It can also combo into neutral air, as you see right there, and potentially get more follow-ups from that, for the cost of dealing 5 less damage. That 5 damage, yes, it's a big deal, but it's less of a big deal when you're also getting a full combo afterwards. Needless to say, blasters have very, very quickly climbed to the very tippity top of the meta. And that's why Teros' position is just a little bit precarious. Because there's another character that benefits from all the buffs Teros got, while also having access to combos that Teros simply cannot do as a result of his low dexterity. You know it by now, of course I'm talking about Cassidy. And look at the threat from that sidelight. A full combo there, and I am mostly safe. I forgot to jump, but you know what? It didn't even matter. I think I can get this twice. Okay, it was pretty close, but I still got it. Cassidy's high dex not only makes her blaster's combos easier and more reliable, she also gets brand new ones that nobody in the game has. Well, nobody except for one character that we'll explore in just a bit. And we've seen how strong blasters are right now, so that's pretty good. But guess what? It's even better. I said that Teros doesn't have access to certain combos that Cassidy can do. I was kind of lying. It's not that it's Teros that doesn't have access to them. It's everyone except for Cassidy. Dexterity is such a weird stat. I have a full video explaining exactly how it works, but essentially, it doesn't work like you think. Most people assume that it makes you attack faster, and I can understand that assumption. It looks like it, that's what it seems like it would do. In actuality, it just changes the delay after you attack. As in, higher dex makes you have less lag after you swing. And less lag after you swing has the very interesting side effect of sometimes that means you can get a combo after. So, not only does Cassidy have access to these high damage, even more high damage now, true combos on the hammer, she also has access to true combos with her signatures. Both neutral sig and side sig can combo out of downlight. And yes, both of those can also KO. That's not real. What I just did, that's not real. The side sig will be much harder to hit in-game. It has to be a very specific angle. Nonetheless, having access to something like that, threatening an area like that, with a diagonal that hammer cannot cover, Cassidy most likely has the strongest hammer in the game. If you're a hammer player, you know the pain of trying to hit people that are at this exact angle, the 45 degree, because in order to hit them, you have to yourself commit to a big move like jumping and side airing, or jumping near them, underneath them, and neutral airing, even jumping above them and down airing. That's pretty hard, especially when your opponent isn't just jumping up and down, but moving left and right. But Cassidy doesn't have to worry about a thing, because she has essentially a light attack in signature form. One that is very reliable, very easy to hit, and one that is less reliable, but extremely powerful. That KO'd at 100 HP. And getting to that 100 HP or whatever kill percent is needed for any other map and any other kill setup is gonna be a lot easier on Cassidy than most other hammer legends in the game. Yes, Teros does more individually, but Cassidy benefited from the same buffs as well as more buffs on her blasters. Niche combo aside, the fact that this move is fast enough to even get a true combo and it's that deadly, it is so good. Now, of course, all of this was possible before the patch, but it just made it that much better because the damage increase means that all of Cassidy's signatures are effectively stronger. So, yes, very, very good patch for our resident outlaw. Also, isn't Brawlhalla supposed to be like the best fighters in history? Like, we have the strongest warriors in the galaxy and then a sheriff? Oh. Unfortunately, it is not all sunshine and rainbows for Cassidy. If she has all of this going for her, then why is she not the obvious pick? She's the one that got buffed the most, right? Well, it's not that simple, because unfortunately, Cassidy suffers from a little thing known as bad stats. Doctors have yet to find a true cure, but everyone's still holding out hope. One day things might change. Unfortunately, Cassidy's uniqueness is also what holds her back. Her high dex, which allows her to get combos that nobody else can, takes away stat points from critical characteristics like speed and defense. She possesses the very unfortunate duo of both 4 speed and 4 defense. Now, those are 2 stats that you really want to have at least 5 in both, and ideally more, especially on the speed front. That is the most important statistic in the game. Now, unfortunately, to get 5 speed, she also has to drop down to 3 defense. I don't think I gotta tell you why 3 defense isn't exactly ideal, but that's pretty unfortunate. Not as unfortunate as me thinking that would be the giant tornado and I would hit them into the ceiling, even though I wasn't at the right height anyway. It wouldn't have worked. So that's why, historically, even when the stars have aligned for Cassidy, it's the perfect patch for her, she still has not been the best, or ever really deemed the best in modern Brawlhalla times. And maybe... Wow, that messed up my combo. And maybe this patch's constellation is just enough. We have yet to see. I feel like Teros will certainly be the meta pick, while Cassidy may be better on paper. That's just something we'll have to find out. But regardless, these blaster buffs are no joke, and the hammer ones aren't either. Given all of Cassidy's innate strengths that I've spent the past few games going over, it's no surprise that Cassidy is being talked about today. They probably thought some kind of string there was coming, but I'm using crossover signatures and nobody knows where it hits, so I can get away with stuff like that. The main question with her is just how high can she go? Those stats really are a bummer. A huge, huge bummer. And even signatures like that, if I connected the first one, almost certainly, assuredly would have KO'd, but I thought that would work. Second time's the charm. Yep. But her weaknesses have always plagued her, and maybe this time is different, maybe it's not. I think she is absolutely a dark horse to be the #1 pick in Brawlhalla, but certainly not the favorite. We are excellent at this game. Yumiko is actually in a very similar spot to Teros, so you may think she is my next pick. After all, Bo is incredibly strong and didn't get nerfed at all. However, it's actually going to Lord Vrax. Warlock. Much like Cassidy, Vrax has access to these high dex blasters combos. And much like Cassidy as well, Vrax's other weapon features unique combos that only he can do. This includes the 3-hit down air downlight into endlight, the standard downlight into endlight which deals a ton of damage, and sidelight dare downlight endlight with a dodge window of 1. Just look how much damage this is dealing. However, Vrax also benefited from something the other 2 legends I talked about today did not. His signatures also received a buff. Yes, Teros and Cassidy got huge buffs this patch, but it's because their weapons got buffed. Vrax benefits from the blasters buffs, but he also benefits from his own. And just look at the damage. This is a low strength character. These buffs aren't nothing either. Lance side sig is gonna KO earlier. Lance down sig deals more damage and in turn also KOs a little earlier. Blaster's end sig KOs earlier, and most shockingly of all, Blaster's down sig is also going to KO earlier. That is his best sig, one of the best sigs in the entire game, and it got buffed. Needless to say, Vrax is looking good this patch. However, much like Cassidy, he also has something holding him back. While Cassidy got buff after buff after buff for both of her weapons, Vrax's second weapon, the Lance, actually got a little bit of a nerf. It's a minor nerf, but a nerf nonetheless. The thing is, this nerf hurts Vrax's Lance the least. And that's part of why. Basically, neutral air is slightly less safe. It's not extreme, but if you're a Lance player, you can probably tell that you have much less momentum, especially moving backward with this move. The down air also got a slightly smaller hitbox close to you, but it's really hard to notice. It's only in these niche cases when you're kind of behind them or kind of just right in front of them. And then finally, the exhausted recovery, which is the second time you use this move, is significantly weaker. So it takes longer to come out, and it also knocks out a lot later. Seems like it's bringing it more in line with what it should have been all along. But here's where things get interesting. To compensate for these nerfs, Brawlhalla made the KO power of this move, the Neutralite, slightly higher. It's not a massive buff, it's not going to KO extremely early, but it still is noticeable, especially when you're on Vrax. You can see this N-Light is not KOing here, but if you can combo your downlight into N-Light, this is where things get a little crazy. You are not going to KO with that downlight into N-Light. It is very, very unlikely because the opponent is probably going to be out of stun by the time that you reach them at that higher HP value. However, because of the threat of this during the entire stock beforehand, your opponent is now watching out for more grounded moves than they would otherwise against any other Lance character. And if that N-Light sends slightly further earlier in the stock, that means you can push people off stage, steal their stocks early, and get a KO where other Lance characters just can't. So I don't mean to say that downlight into N-Light is a guaranteed knockout combo. It's not. It's a guaranteed damage combo early in the stock if you're running this high dex Vrax. But the very threat of its existence to begin with not only changes how you play early in the stock, but also gives you an opportunity to knock your opponent far off stage, and also forces a dodge out of downlight. I got that because of the fear of downlight into N-Light. You see, they went for it. Wasn't true. But for me, that's just Vrax privilege. And I do it again. That's some more damage. And what if I do it? What if I do it one more time? Look at their health. I mean, like, what is there even more to say? You see it, right? You see it, and then I forced out a dodge because I did it earlier in the stock. I mean, that is the most perfect demonstration I could ever ask for. Like Cassidy, Vrax has a couple disadvantages driven by this high dex. Primarily, the stats. Now, it's not nearly as bad as Cassidy. In fact, I would say they're quite a bit better. Mostly on account of his basic speed. That didn't hit me. That is such a big deal because it means that the dex stance will still allow you to have 5. And we know how important and critical this dex stance is. Running alternate stances of Vrax is still very viable, it's just not as optimal as these insane ones are. I kind of saved them there, but we're still okay. Teros just has one of the most insane stat spreads in the entire game. It's really hard to judge, really hard to compare, kind of unfair, but you know, that's how the world is. It's how things go. Vrax was not destined to be a universal pick like the Bull was. But you know what? Still really, really good, with potential to be the best. Potential is a scary word though. Someone like Diana, for example, looks incredible this patch, for the same reasons that I talked about Yumiko earlier. But my final pick is gonna come out of left field. Or maybe not, if you've been watching my videos for a little while. In my opinion, Seven is one of the most critically underrated characters in the entire game. One of the best in the entire game. And you know what? It's not even just my opinion. In one of my recent videos, which I highly recommend you check out, I analyzed the in-game match statistics of every single character in Brawlhalla. I'm not going to spoil the video here in case you want to watch it yourself, but I'll just say that out of the entire cast, Seven had the most unique result. Neither of her weapons were nerfed, while a lot of the weapons that she may struggle against were. Sword in particular really comes to mind. But overall, she's just incredibly good. She's always been good, and I'm kind of shocked she hasn't been nerfed yet, or at least nerfed to a very, very significant degree. The fact that this signature still exists, what are we talking about here? I've played Brawlhalla for a long time. I'm not very afraid of sig spam anymore, except when it comes to one character. And I don't know, okay, maybe more than one character, but you know what I'm saying. This signature is a character. Like, it just is. The fire version of the side. Holy! Everything about this move. I'm using it the moment I get out. Next off. It's so good. It's really so. Do you see that hitbox? Did you see that? Did you see? This is one of her 9 signatures, by the way. 9. Not again. Not again. Get me out. Get me away from you. I didn't think. I was waiting to talk. I didn't think it was gonna kill. This patch has really shaken things up. I mean, Magyar is now the best greatsword user in the game. Nobody expected that anytime soon, did they? But It's the world we live in. And I think a setting like that is what 7 needed to ascend, to really, truly rise above. I just KO'd with Spear Downlight. Like, what is there to say? I feel like I'm almost doing a disservice. Her other SIGs are also so good, particularly on the cannon. But, like, one of them is just enough sometimes. Like, sometimes that's all you need. You just need the one. But she does have more. She has a good number more. I'm not making it in time. No way. And on top of that, her stat spread is incredible. It's actually almost the polar opposite of Jiro, who I'm fighting against right now. The question is 7 better than some characters like Mirage, like Nyx, that will almost assuredly also see increases in play this patch, particularly with Mordex being nerfed? That remains to be seen. Nonetheless, I think she, among that bunch, is the stronger character, for sure. I know it looks like I'm using the same move over and over again, but the fact that that situation was created by tiny little movement and still hit, insane. I don't want to beat a dead horse and use the same one SIG over and over and over again, but the thing is, it's so versatile in so many situations, I just didn't get hit there, that I'm allowed to use it over and over and over again. Like, look, I'm off stage here, but I'm making it all the way back with a hitbox still. Like, you think I'm dead here? I'm not dead. I'm good. And if this Jiro tried to edgeguard too close to the backside, like, that would happen. So, yeah, it goes beyond words. 7 is a character that has flown under the radar for so long, and I think this just might be the moment. Especially because Cannon, I feel like into blasters, into hammer, they have access to that 45-degree angle pretty well with their down air, and sword being nerfed, which is a weapon that can kind of wall out both of these on 7, that's really, really, really good. I think every Blasters character, regardless of if they got unique stuff this patch, is going to see a massive increase because the sidelight to Sair is just too good. With that known, I think my 7 pick here is the least likely of all to really see a big spike, but in terms of raw power, she's just got it, you know? Right now, I'm playing against a very good Jiro player. This is someone that went to LAN. You can see their movement in the corner. Quite adept. And still, I'm gonna see if I can get away with some crazy 7 cheese. Because the other benefit that 7 has is that people don't really pick her. People don't know the hitboxes. What are you supposed to do against this thing? They're almost assuredly gonna be retreating to this corner. Yeah, so let's see if I can just shock them with a cross-map side sig. The odds it works, low. But, like, the reward is so good. If this move does not get nerfed in the next balance patch. Do you see that? Like, I was off stage and then I went back on stage. There's so much little cheese you can do. Now I have stage control again. You can just make it back, like I was saying, with such a insane priority hitbox. You know I'm gonna do it. The question is just when. It's not if, it's when. Teros, Cassidy, Lord Vrax, and 7. That's my short list of the potential best character in the entire game. Other picks, like the ones I mentioned, Veraza, I think, is a very strong one. Vivi is a bit of a sleeper. And Lucian, despite the Qatar nerfs, I think they're 100% gonna see more play. The question is, are they gonna be the best? I don't know. It's up to these 4, in my opinion. Probably Teros.